This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, that was a kickback. Yeah. Welcome to our today's meeting. Today we are going to check on at least the opportunities that we have when we consider relocating to our countries of origin. I think this is a question that accompanies us every day as migrants, and I think for the government institutions, it's also quite interesting to know what would it take for someone to make a decision, a positive decision, to say yes, I want to relocate, and that also would take us to at least tackling some of the few reasons why people migrate from their countries of origin and come here. Because before you check on the consideration or the points they have to consider, the determining factors for relocation, at least you have to first of all understand why people decide to leave their countries and come to Germany. And I'm happy that today we have very good and prominent speakers with us here. Your engagements are quite diverse. I'm so happy about that. You are going to give us at least more insights into your fields. What you've done so far. If you are representing a program, at least to let us know what is your program about, what are some of the challenges you're also experiencing with the program you're having, how do you reach out to the people that, the targeted group, how do you reach out to them, and what is the response from their side. At least I think it's going to motivate a lot of us to know what do I have to consider as a preparation when considering a relocation, and on the other hand, to know how can we adjust our programs, how can we make even positive decisions based on the information that we are going to make today, whether to relocate or to stay here in Germany. So thank you so much. I just do a very brief introduction of our team for today, the speakers, and I hope the rest you're going to get in our discussion rounds. The flow of the program is our target is actually 90 minutes, that is 1.5 hours. But then you'd want our speakers not to be nervous after the 90 minutes. That's why we decided to block the full 2 hours, so that in case we have more questions than expected, at least you still have some good backup at the end and use the last 30 minutes to tackle the questions. But I hope that with the first 90 minutes, we are on the safer side to at least have a very good interactive session together. And the presentations are going to be shared by our speakers directly, except for Cynthia. I'll share Cynthia's presentation. I hope you're okay with it, that after this meeting, I can share your presentation with the audience, but you can let me know about that during your own presentation, if you'll be allowing the release or the sharing of your presentation after the meeting. The recording, as I said, if you want to have the recording, we'll definitely give you the link so that you can decide on your own how you want to share it on your social media. For the questions during the presentation, we are going to reserve the questions for the last part of the roundtable or the discussion. Nevertheless, the speakers, at your own convenience, if you see any question coming in the chat and you're like, I can just pick it up and answer it during my own presentation or while responding to the same question that maybe someone else posted before, feel free to do that. And to the rest of the audiences, thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to tackle your questions both in the chat and also take up the by hand, those who are going to maybe want to share their questions directly. Yeah, so allow me to just pin a few people on the desktop so that at least we can have them close here with us, and I'll then blend off a few of us. Don't mind about that. I don't know the page, the screen you're seeing, but I would love that at least on my screen, I see the speakers, all the speakers here in front of me, and have a feeling that we're chatting together. Yeah, the times are a bit different now with the COVID time. It's a bit funny. You assume you're seeing people. Yes, you're seeing each other anyway, but I would love to assume you're sitting on the same table. Correct. Who am I leaving out? Cynthia, can you just activate your video if that's possible? Perfect. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so today we want to have a different speaker that you saw from the IOM side, Yana. But Yana, unfortunately, isn't well. She fell sick yesterday night and isn't able to join us today. And therefore, we are glad that IOM could find a solution very fast and sent us Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. So Sarah has been working for IOM Germany since 2019 as a project assistant and team coordinator as part of the REAG and GAP, which is an assisted voluntary return program implemented by IOM in the sub-office in Nuremberg. In movement operations, they process all applications within the assisted voluntary return program that are ready for travel. And they also facilitate and organize the actual travel to the countries of return in close coordination with IOM missions in those countries of return, as well as with the partners at the airports in Germany. Sarah, welcome so much. Then our next speaker is Cynthia Kamau. Cynthia is representing a program by GIZ. She was born and grew up in Kenya and came to Germany in 2007. Am I right, Cynthia? Great. She studied in Kiel in Germany, and after 8 years of residence in Germany, Cynthia returned to Kenya in 2015, after which she began working for GIZ program for migration and diaspora, which is the PMD known to some of us. And in 2016, she's still working there till date. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Vivek Sethia. Vivek was born in India and grew up also in India. And after setting his bachelor degree in computer science and working for 4 years in India and in the same field, he moved to Germany to pursue higher education. He did his master's in informatics at the Technical University of Munich. And Vivek started already working in the IT industry as a student in India and has therefore solid experience in the IT industry in both countries, that is India and Germany. Besides his career, Vivek has been passionate about voluntary work at multiple initiatives like Ready School of Digital Integration for Immigrants, the African Tech Vision for Female Entrepreneurs in Africa, Generating Genius for graduating African women in UK, and among other initiatives. After 6 years of residence in Germany, he also decided to move back to India and began his, beginning of the year, and has then still been pursuing his dreams in India. Welcome so much, Vivek.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Our next speaker is very interesting because this is our very own from GANF team, Ronald Kawesi. Ronald was born and brought up in Uganda. He came to Germany. You'll tell us when, how long, and then decided to return to Uganda and formed a company, PropTech, which is a startup founded with a colleague and a lecturer at Makerere University School of Built Environment, and is quite passionate about environment and digital transformation. Ronald has coordinated several of our projects, both here in Germany, Uganda, and also in Kenya. Ronald, thank you so much for having you today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be
Another
here.
one of our very own as a cooperation partner of GANF is Caroline Mwangi. Caroline is the co-founder of AG Career Hub and comes from Kenya. Caroline is currently working for the Bundesagentur für Arbeit in finance department. And he's a certified WeDo ambassador for Kenya, the WeDo Africa initiative. She's the co-founder of AG Career Hub, which is an information and networking platform and also consultation for career and students, career migrants and students who are thinking of commuting between Kenya and Germany, or also considering shifting to Germany or relocating back to Kenya. Thank you so much for having you, Carol. I know you've helped quite a lot of people make positive decisions, and we are glad that you're going to share your experience with us also here today. Thank you
so much.
So with that having been said and done, I know you'll get more information from our speakers during the next rounds of presentation or discussion. And I would avoid wasting more time and just go to our very first speaker. Sarah, please, you're going to share your presentation, introduce your program to us, and share your experiences with us. Thank you. Welcome so much.
Thank you. Okay, so Max will kindly share the presentation now that I only am using one screen. So we would just quickly wait until this is visible. Great. Is it visible for all of you? Edith, now I cannot see any other videos. So if there are any questions, you might just moderate and pass them forward so I can answer them directly. That's no problem. Okay, then, yeah, first of all, thank you for having me in this round so spontaneously. As Jana is unfortunately not able to be here today, I'm jumping in to give you a brief overview of the Voluntary Return and Reintegration Program, REAGAP, which is implemented by IOM Germany. I'm really open to answer questions that come while I'm speaking, so please don't hesitate if you feel comfortable addressing the questions right away. Then let's jump into our short agenda. We will give you a short overview of IOM, what we do, and what voluntary return is about. I will say a few words about the REAGAP program and the Starthilfe Plus program, which are two programs, but basically within IOM Germany, they're really connected to each other. And I will also share some tools with all of you how to get more information about the programs. So let's jump right into the first point. For all of you who have not heard of IOM yet, IOM is the leading intergovernmental organization in the field of migration and part of the UN system since 2016. The core principle is to facilitate humane and orderly migration that benefits migrants and societies alike. The organization was founded in 1951, and since then 174 member states joined the organization. And IOM is represented with more than 400 offices worldwide and with over 15,000 staff. So the Avr program, the voluntary return principles, which are also underlying our REAGAP program, is an individual counseling for migrants who wish to return back home. There's a focus on protection of the returnees, adjusted to their needs, and we organize, or IOM organizes, the return and reintegration. A few words about REAGAP. The development of this will follow on the next slides, the development of the program, the return counseling structure of IOM in Germany, the program components, and a short insight into the process of a REAGAP application. So a short historical overview about the program. In 1979, REAG was founded. This is the first part, as you might have seen in the name of the REAGAP. It started with the Reintegration and Emigration Program for Asylum Seekers in Germany, REAG. This covered the payment of travel expenses and travel allowance for migrants who wanted to return back home. in 1989, it was there was an addition to the program, the GAP part, the Government Assisted Repatriation Program, which combined a startup aid as a further support for certain nationalities. And in 2002, both programs, REAC and GAP, merged to REA-GAP, which is what we refer to as the whole program today. Yeah, of course, as migration is one of the very prevalent topics of the 21st century, this is also reflected, of course, in basically in all statistics, but this is one that we like to show quite a bit because it really shows the connection between migration worldwide. This is now here accustomed to the situation in Germany, and migration topics that then are displayed also in the numbers of voluntary returns in Germany. So the Avr program had its peak in 1998, 99, and beginning of 2000, and then there was another huge Avr workload between 2015 and 18, and this is of course all mirrored in front of what has happened in the world, and especially also in Europe, based on IOM or connected to IOM Germany and migration within the European Union. The return counseling structures in Germany are as follows. So IOM works together with over 800 what we call referral agencies, Antragsübermittelnde Stellen. These can be state institution or NGOs. So the majority of referral agencies are either foreigners, authorities, or then DRK, Deutsches Rotes Kreuz, Caritas, ABO, Diakonie, and some others. I'm pretty sure some of you have come across some of the names as well. IOM also has its own counseling centers in Rheinland-Pfalz, Bremerhaven, and Berlin. So who would be eligible for being funded under the REA-GAP program? So there are three main points which we have a look at. This is the desired departure. The desired departure is permanent. So migrants that are willing to return back home on a long-term view. Everyone who is can only be funded once under the program, so persons who have not been funded yet, and they have no means to pay for their departure themselves. And then sort of the criteria for persons who fall under or who can be eligible for the REA-GAP program are persons who are in their asylum procedure, whose application for asylum has been rejected and or who are obliged to leave the country, persons who are entitled to asylum or have a toleration permit. In German, because I'm not sure now, I will also always refer to the German words because sometimes the translation is not exactly what the German words are. Is long-term toleration or toleration permit is Duldung or Langzeitduldung, what we call it, and then persons affected by forced prostitution and or human trafficking. And in these cases also EU citizens can be eligible for the program. The REA-GAP program for this year, so it's the yearly program, and the program components slightly change from year to year. I mean, the core program remains the same, but then, according or depending on the circumstances, I mean, of course, the pandemic had a huge impact also on the program and some program components in a positive way. So this is subject to slight changes between the years. But for this year, what is covered under the project are travel costs to the airport and the transport costs to the destination country, the flight, as in flight or bus, but the majority of returns are, of course, traveled by airplane. Then pocket money is funded under the program, either a reduced pocket money, or this is for returnees to the Western Balkan countries, or a full amount of pocket money, which is 200 euros per adult, depending on the nationality of the beneficiaries. What is also under the program is the so-called GAP payment, Starthilfe. This is based on the nationality. It serves to bridge the gap after arrival and is intended to facilitate a new start in the country of return. You can see on the right side of the slide the list of countries which are eligible as GAP countries, what we call GAP countries. And the amounts are 1,000 euros per person over 18 years, and UMCs, which is unaccompanied migrant children, and 500 euros per person under 18 years. What does a return process look like? So first of all, migrants approach a counseling center or referral agency. They are counseled. The counseling is meant to be open-ended. And if then after the counseling and the transparent communication of information, there's still the wish to return, then an application for the return under the RIA-GAP program can be filled and signed, and the application form is submitted to IOM. So we have different teams that work on these applications. They are checked for the eligibility criteria, the completeness, and after that, if these criteria are fulfilled, then in the next step of flight departure date, possible departure date and departure airport within Germany can be arranged, and in a joint agreement, the flight date and all the involved actors as well as the migrant are then prepared and supported in the organization of the departure. The counseling center hands over a confirmation of funding, inclusive of the contact details of IOM missions in the destination country, and of course, if applicable, then also pays out the travel subsidy and organizes the travel to the airport. At the airport, the tickets are issued at the check-in counter by presenting the travel document, because IOM then has in the whole process previously made the booking reservation for the flight. If applicable, depending of course on the country of destination, then a payment of an additional fund is done before the departure. And once arrived in the country of destination, the implementation of the reintegration support starts, and this is done by the IOM offices worldwide. Another program which is linked to the RIA-GAP program is the Starthilfe Plus. So it's so to speak an addition to the RIA-GAP program. This program started in 2017 and it's targeted to 40 countries. It supports, the support under this program depends on the nationality and the destination country, and this really can vary from case to case depending on nationality and where persons are traveling to. The application is part of the RIA-GAP application, which is submitted through the OIM. This is the online application module where this is a mandatory tool actually, where we receive all incoming applications for the RIA-GAP program. And within this one application, the Starthilfe Plus application is linked to this. And the implementation of the Starthilfe Plus program is then also conducted by the IOM offices on the ground within the countries of destination as well. So the reintegration program for this year, it's also subject to slight changes, same as the RIA-GAP program, and as decided together with the Bundesamt für Migration und Flüchtlinge and the 16 federal states in Germany. So all of these 17 parties together with IOM create and design the program components. And under the Stadthilfe Plus program for this year, there's support in the area of housing, so appropriate and necessary benefits in kind such as rent costs, building renovation costs, basic equipment and other things can be provided and can be taken into account under the housing conditions. Then there's a financial support, which we refer to as the second startup grant or zweite Starthilfe. This is paid out after 6 to 8 months after arriving in the country of destination. And then there's also a component under Stadthilfe Plus program, which is the reintegration support for long-term tolerated persons, what I referred to earlier. This is the Langzeitgeduldete, and this target group can also benefit from some in-kind support that is provided, and in addition, persons receive benefits for medical care and financial support. As I mentioned before, this is really important to note that the funding is dependent on the nationality and the destination country. So here you can see the list of which countries are eligible for what. I will, but then also later in a later slide, show you where more information on this can be found, because this is also subject to changes, sometimes from year to year. Sometimes we see more changes in this country list, sometimes less, but this really also depends on negotiations with the donors. This is the current overview for the program year 2022. Okay, then some information tools where on the next 2 slides, I will show you or present you 2 information tools where, if interested, you could find more information. The first one, that would be the Returning from Germany portal. You can save this link to your browser. It has a lot of information, comprehensive information on return and reintegration in 10 different languages, so also targeted to beneficiaries and their mother tongue. There's an overview of available return and reintegration programs. There's more information on virtual counseling, which is return and reintegration counseling provided by IOM staff in 20 different countries of origin via social media messenger. So beneficiaries are free to contact IOM colleagues in these countries in their mother tongue if they want or need more information. And then there's also the possibility of ZIRF counseling, which is the possibility to for individual requests through referral agencies and their country information sheets for different countries of destinations where more information is compiled, also in different languages. Yeah, and that was our short overview. Thank you, Max. Thank you to the audience, and if there are any questions, please feel free to address them.
So I'm gonna go clear the kitchen. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah, for taking us through the program. I can see Rashid raising up a hand. Rashid, you can just chip in your questions since not so many questions are being posted now. And then we'd go to the next speaker. Rashid, please.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. Why in the course of the years, there are more and more instruments and less returnees, according to your statistics? What is the gap there? What doesn't work? This is the first question. The question is, from those who returned, what is their age, an average? Are they rather young person or older person, people, and what is their level of education? Thank you.
Okay, so considering or regarding your first question, of course, there was an decrease in numbers during the past 2 years, obviously related to the pandemic situation worldwide. And the other question, I guess this is more addressed to the whole European migration regime, which is then actually also a question I will not be able to give more answers, and this is probably something that would be addressed on a more political level, how numbers are linked to each other. But of course, the whole Avr program and voluntary return and IOM's work is of course linked to the general discourse of migration in the geographical region we are located in. Regarding your second question, we see age ranges from, grown-ups, families with children. We have around 8 to 11 cases of UMCs, unaccompanied migrant children, per year. And in total numbers between, like the last 2 years, between 5,000, 5,500 due to the pandemic. So like single traveling children are very rare, and these cases are very sensitive. So we have different mechanisms of protection for the UMCs. But in general, we see families, families, single traveling, persons that travel on their own, but ranging from young to old. So there's no, I don't have the statistics of average, but I would say from applications we see and returns we facilitate, the age range is covered throughout all ages. And what was the other question?
Maybe if I can just jump in on that, we're happy to check if there's like a median age. We can send that along in the follow-up email after this event, if that's okay with you.
The last part was quite low on your side. The audio wasn't so good, Max.
May I add the second part of the question? It was about the level of education, whether rather uneducated people would resort to your program, or because educated people usually have more resources.
So we do not request, when submitting an application, we do not request any information on level of education, none. So I really cannot give you any information on this, because this is no data that we collect when together with the application.
Great. Thank you so much. I know so many questions are still going to come along the line. We've seen the program for the asylum seekers, and let's now see the program for the career persons and professionals that then decide to relocate, not because their applications are rejected, but because they make up a decision to say, I want to relocate. Cynthia, let's have your program, and then we're going to combine all the programs together in the discussion. Let me share your screen, right?
Okay, yes, let's do.
Okay. So, okay, here you go.
That's the last slide.
Oh, sorry. This normally happens sometimes. Wait, I have to restart it again. Okay, you can see the presentation?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Click there on the right so that you're able to move it at the top. There.
You'll just let me know if you want me to move to the next page. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone from Nairobi. I'm Cynthia, and I work for this program, Program Migration and Development. And we've been in Kenya since 2016. And our main aim is engaging for sustainable development. And we are run by GIZ and funded by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. That's BMZ. Okay, next slide. Edith. Okay, can you move? I think you need to click at the top first. Bearbeitung aktivieren.
You aren't seeing the next page?
Nope, you're still on the first one. But I think you need to click up there first.
Actually, it ought to slide without any challenge. Let me see. Can you see any of the pages yet? Let me go back. That was the first page. The second page, still.
I can't see. Can you
still
click
no
first
changes?
on top here? There's a sign at the top. Bearbeitung aktivieren at the top on the right. Can you click there first so that you're able to scroll?
Okay, sorry, that's a bit funny. Normally it works without any challenge. Let me see.
Or maybe I try to share.
Can you try to share it from that side?
I'll try. I've never really used this.
So let me just give it another try. Yeah?
Okay.
At times it works. At times it needs a bit longer. That's okay. We have no problem with that. Let's try it out again.
Yes, now it's visible, but move back.
No, but let me. You're seeing the second page, right?
Yes.
Let me try to see if are you now seeing the third page?
Yes, you're able to.
The fourth page. Now it's
yes.
okay. Okay, good, perfect. Then let's go to the second page where you were initially. Great.
Okay. So the program PMD, or Program Migration and Diaspora, as I said, it's implemented by GIZ and on behalf of BMZ. So we wait for BMZ to decide what the project cycles and what we do. And the project is in 20 partner countries in which we engage the diaspora so that they're able to contribute back home for sustainable development. So we offer funding opportunities for people with a migration history living in Germany. So somebody has to have been living in Germany, either working or studying there. So we promote short-time assignments in countries of origin for well-qualified and skilled people. So this is what we are currently doing, the last one. But because of funding, we are not doing other things we've done before, but I'll mention them. Next slide, Edith. Okay, these are the partner countries we have. And you can see it's we're in quite a number of continents. And even though I said I came back to Kenya and started the program in 2016, for other countries like Ghana, it's been there for much longer, and Ethiopia. So every other year we add a few countries, and some fall out. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we concentrate mainly on the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goal. And this, most of you have heard, the global community has set ambitious goals towards achieving Agenda 2030 and through the SDGs. So everything we do has to be supporting the SDGs. Next, Edith. Okay, so here are the SDGs, which I won't go through. So for us to check whether an applicant is qualifies, is we check which of these SDGs are they going to contribute back in our country, and that's after their studies or they still live there. So when they want to come back, one of the things we check in the applications is, are they going to contribute to the SDGs, and where will they contribute? Because you can't be going to private, very few private organizations are supported. We mainly work with the public organizations. Thanks. Next. Okay, what do we offer? This is what we are currently offering, though I'll mention others we've offered before up to last month. So we support diaspora experts. these are short-term assignments where somebody maybe is working professionally, has worked in Germany, and chooses to come back to Kenya. So the more information is on that website. Next, Diaspora 2030. So the short-term voluntary assignments or diaspora experts can last between three weeks to 3 months, and somebody can apply several times, but a maximum of 6 months per year. So mainly we've had 3 weeks whereby we have people taking leave and then coming to Kenya, doctors, social workers, and all that. And since 2016, when we had it started, we've supported 360 assignments or placements in all the countries. Next, Edith. And then our services to the diaspora experts, we do consultations for them. This can be done in Germany, or I can do it. And then we provide suitable institutions or host institutions where they can contribute. We offer training on how they exchange this knowledge. We organize networking events in Germany, but this has not happened due to COVID. We offer financial compensation. So this is usually per day. And for the case of Kenya, they should get 90 euros per day. And also a flight ticket back and forth, and insurance. Then, so we cover travel cost and insurance, and then we provide support on the ground. So if somebody comes to Kenya, then I'm always in contact, and if problems occur, then we can deal with them. Next slide. So in this case, we have an example here for Rihanna. She's from Indonesia, and she works, she's an engineer, aeronautical engineer at Airbus Helicopters in Germany. So what she did is she engaged as a short-term expert in this training center in Jakarta. So you can see her there with training there. And she was contributing to a few SDGs, which are written here. Infrastructure, SDG 9. Next. And then how does one qualify to be a diaspora expert? You must reside in Germany or another EU country and have a resident permit in that country. And then you have a history of migration in one of the partner countries, one of the PMD partner countries, that is the 22 countries. So you could be originally from Ghana, but you come to volunteer in Kenya because those 2 countries are supported. A history of migration also means that for those who settle in Germany and get children, let's say you're from these countries, but you get children, they could still qualify because they have a migration background from the parents. So you must have qualifications or training that are recognized in Germany. So that means you have to have trained in Germany to whatever level, whether Ausbildung or at university level, and you must have at least 2 years of professional experience in your field, and then 3 weeks to 6 months. That next, Edith. So how do you apply for funding? Through this website, Diaspora 2030. We'll copy it in the chat. Next, Edith. Next. Okay, but before we go to the questions, I'll mention 2 other possibilities of funding which have been there. One of them is supporting diaspora organizations, and Edith has benefited from us. I think she's had around 3 projects. So we've had GANF apply for funding in Germany and then partner with a local organization. She's had 3 projects, that's one way. And where our contribution as PMD was up to 42,000. And then how much did you have to contribute, Edith, on your side?
The applying organization must participate with at least 10% of the total budget.
Okay, and it doesn't also have to be, it can also be in terms of service, isn't it? Yes, it
Yes,
doesn't have to
now
be.
it has been adjusted. Initially or primarily it was the cash, but then now you can also calculate or convert your services within the organization to the cash.
Yes, so that has been another popular way of making or enabling the diaspora in Germany to contribute. But since last month, we stopped this until we get our next funding, if we get it from September. So the project cycles change, and we're waiting to see the newly formed government. What does BMZ decide on the program? And another thing that we've had, which has been quite popular, is returning experts, those people who've trained in Germany, bachelor's, Ausbildung, or PhD, and they would come to Kenya, or they come to Kenya and they return for good and start working in their field of study. So in this case, we have, I think in Kenya, we supported so far since 2016, around 90 returning experts. Right now we have around 40 in our that we are currently supporting. And what do we do for them? We give them salary top-ups. So once they get a job here, we assess the job description. Does it meet our requirements? I've said most private organizations do not qualify. Like you can't come and work for Stanchart, these banks, and then OUN, IOM, and GET. We assume that you already earn enough or they're not part of what we support. So when you come, we give you a salary top-up, calculated depending on your salary, not on your qualifications. Then we give you workplace equipment money to a tune of 10,000 euros. And also we organize networking events and also pay for further training or attending seminars, both in Kenya and in Germany. But unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, we stopped this and have only few options available for people, but we hope it will continue from September. So that's all. Those are the 3 fields. And maybe Vivek, you are a returning expert in India. Vivek?
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said, are you supported as a returning expert in India?
As of now, I have no clue about these programs, so I just got to know from you people. So I will have a look about it. I was going to ask whether you said about this expat, like returning back to their country for good. I wanted to ask if it's also in India also regarding this program. I don't know. If it's there, I will have a look.
Yes, India is one of our countries, but I would still encourage you to register and apply because maybe we still have options open for people. So we always think people know about the program, but it seems they don't. Yes. Okay, that's it. And here are our contacts, but I'll also share my email in the chat. Thank you, Edith.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, that's why we have such kind of platforms to make the programs known to as many as possible. If we have any burning question now, yes. If not, we are going to have detailed questions in the Q&A or discussion round. And then we'll go to the next program, in the next speaker. Great. So we are now going to change the roles from programs to individuals that make up the decision to either participate in any of the program or from personal initiative relocate back home. Vivek, it's good we've known already you're not in any of the programs. Let's know what prompted you to make this decision and how are you going about it?
Thanks, Edith, for first of all bringing me to this event itself. And it's good to hear from all of you. I mean, it gives me a lot of different ideas and different things to collaborate and learn from all of you. And yeah, this is something I really appreciate. So thanks again to all the speakers who are here. So myself, before going away, why I moved back, let us go a little back from why I moved from India to Germany. So I started my journey in IT in 2011, and I worked for quite some time in India, for example, for around 4 years. And then at this point in time, I had this feeling that I had to learn, like study again. because I was getting saturated with the work itself. And at this point in time, I thought, yeah, where should I go? I mean, mostly if you ask any Indian, most of them would go to US, UK, Australia in large numbers because of the familiarity with the English language and also the craze behind the US education. Back then, I mean, it's reducing now. I mean, it's a different way, a different scenario right now. But for me, the challenge, like the decision was based on like what I want to achieve. So like how much I have to put in as a budget for myself, because doing higher education itself is a very expensive topic. If you're coming from if you're earning yourself and you don't have a wealthy family background, you have to put your money. So for me, this decision helped me to move towards Germany, and also education-wise, Germany is also very ahead, and the research facility is the best among the world. So I moved to Germany to study at Technical University of Munich, and I have to say that this was one of the best decisions I can take, because it helped me to learn different things. Like when I moved in 2015, there were a lot of challenges in terms of application process itself, because I had no other mentors who could tell me or support me like how to apply or what is needed. So it took some time, but I did apply, and I have learned a lot during that phase, like what is important in the application process itself, how you try to join some groups on Facebook where you have the discussion about what is going to happen and make yourself aware before even landing to the place. Then there are other challenges in terms of accommodation, because Munich is a very, very difficult place to find a house. And when I was leaving, I was like, oh my God, if I have to come back, how will I look for a place again? But keeping that aside, I took this decision, studied here. I would say during this last 6 years, I got exposed to a lot of different people from different countries, getting exposed to international culture. I mean, not even getting exposed to German culture for sure, and also getting exposed to international community, because Munich is compared to Berlin, not much in having international people, but yes, it does have a lot of international students and also a community working in different companies. So I was exposed to that setup where I learned the idea of like how I can learn from different cultures. And during this time, I would say I got the chance to be more independent, because when you're in a home country, you are used to whatever the surrounding is, and when you are in a new country, you try to explore, like let me try skating. I mean, I have never done ice skating, or let me try to go for some meetups and learn from people, and even presenting at topics. This is what I was not used to doing it myself back in India. And I tried doing this and started associating with a lot of people. And hence, eventually, I also learned, like, what should I do after learning so much? So during my journey itself in Germany, I started volunteering like 3 years ago with various organizations in terms of giving back to the expats. For example, the organization I'm supporting is mostly people who are immigrant or people who are looking to move into tech industry in Germany. So I started joining in. I had my initial hesitation whether I can give it back or not, because giving it back, or it's not giving it back, it's more like collaborating and learning with each other. That's what I feel like, because you learn from giving it back in terms of also learning from the person you're giving it, because it's more like a conversation you're doing. So for me, initially, it was a bit of challenge to accept whether I can really help people, not help, but enable people. But once I started doing it, I felt like, yes, even if you have a small knowledge, what you can do is go into organization and see whether this particular topic can be introduced or not. And I started doing it and collaborating with various organizations, learned a lot, and still looking forward to collaborate. And then at certain point in time, having stayed for 6 years, I had this in my mind, like a year ago, that I want to move back. I mean, I never wanted that I would have to settle there in Germany. That's what my idea was. I mean, I really wanted to learn, experience, gathered this experience and eventually moved back. So starting of this year, I moved back to India. I'm still settling in terms of the place itself, because once you move back, there's also a reverse cultural shock. This is a term which I learned from somebody. Although I didn't think that would be a case, but yeah, here and there it is there. But I think it's more like a journey. Like one decision cannot decide like what will happen. Like it's more like you have to take it and believe in it. So right now I'm positive about it, learning from the experience. I'm happy that I have moved back. Again, moving back to the place itself and trying to collaborate again in terms of collaborating with the alumni association of my institution, which I studied my bachelor's. Also collaborating with the alumni of TUM, if I can collaborate and bring anything back to any organization here. And yes, for example, Edith approached me for this talk. I was very happy because what I have learned that you can be anywhere, but collaboration can happen all around the world. And with the pandemic, I think there were a lot of, uncertainty, but there's one thing which pandemic has brought, like connecting without being in-person event also, like that has evolved over the time, and we can see there are a lot of events happening in that direction. So I still want to be in touch with my journey from the Germany, and keep the interactions alive, the connections alive, and also bring various topics together. For example, the organization which presented earlier than me, I will try to learn from that. And maybe if somebody who is looking more into that direction, I can help or direct them over there. So this was my journey. In terms of my journey itself in the IT industry, I would say how I started in India and how I evolved in Germany is helping me now back in India, in terms of presenting, in terms of taking the work attitude. It's the whole journey, India plus Germany, different aspects, different things, but it is a whole journey that is essential for anyone. And one essential learning which I always try to share across different organizations or different teams I'm working with is the capability of an individual to actually know people through networking. For example, LinkedIn as a platform, I would say is a really powerful platform, because I have utilized or learned or connected with a lot of people who has given me a lot of energy or information which I as an individual could never find. So I would urge any listener over here to never shy away and network with, never shy away, but network with people, because it will give you an edge in terms of collaborating and also learning and also helping others. So this would be my takeaway for others if they have to take from my journey.
Perfect. Great to learn about the long journey of coming and then relocating, and then trying to also make others benefit from the experience. Yeah, we are having our two last speakers, and we still want to have enough time for discussion. So if you don't mind, if it's possible to just make it a little bit short. I know it's unfair if we give the others more time, and maybe we tell you to make it short, but what we want to do is have interaction and discussion with you, and we are still going to dig deeper and deeper into your bios and your programs to get more information from you. Yes, so we are going to have Ronald also share the experience, and at the end we're going to have someone between the gaps that was in Kenya, born in Kenya, then came to Germany, then relocated to Kenya and came back again, and is still struggling, stretching hands on both sides, and trying to mediate in between and create opportunities on both ends. Yeah, let's hear from your story, Ronald. How has your journey been? Ronald, you can just unmute yourself. No?
Yes,
Oh.
thank you, Edith.
Oh, okay, good. I thought we lost you.
To be precise. Yes. No, sorry. Yes.
We can't get you clearly, Ronald.
To be precise, I can wonderful.
Ronald, your connection isn't stable.
And hold on. You can hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
You can hear me now?
There you are. Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I was saying thank you for this opportunity. Regarding my journey, it has been wonderful. I got to Germany in 2016 for my master's in land management. Also still at the same university, the Technical University of Munich. I completed in 2018, and then for me the question was, what is the next step after all this? And what was important for me is that I had practiced valuation. I'm a valuer by profession back home in Uganda. I started applying for opportunities to get a couple of training, and this worked out well for me because I got opportunities to work in some of the big firms in Germany. I worked at Colliers International, I worked at Allianz Real Estate, I worked at Siemens Real Estate, I worked at Built World. So all these gave me a couple of opportunities until my last posting, which was at Siemens Real Estate, and that was in 2020. During that time, I also received an opportunity to, I think this exposure exposed me even back home to my home country, that I was invited to give sort of a public lecture about real estate investment. And then from there, I found myself entering the academia. And this influenced, of course, a little much my decision to go back home, because I wanted to contribute, of course, to what I had learned, more of the technology shift and technology transfer from what I've learned from these companies to implement it back home. And in the same scope, I was given even the same lectures, the same course units to teach. What I did at Allianz was mostly investment appraisal and investment strategy. And it's a unit I teach here back at Makerere. At Siemens, I was working in corporate real estate management and portfolio management. It's also a course unit I lecture back home here, which is corporate real estate management and portfolio management. So this informed my decision to go back home, and I can say it has been wonderful because it has given me some sense of also purpose to contribute. One challenge I faced when I was in Germany, I would not say it was a challenge as such. I like taking on challenges, and also I wanted to have more room for growth. So working at Built World, one of the big, not big, but one of the companies that deals in innovations in real estate, gave me an exposure to start up my own startup back home in Uganda, that is PropTech Uganda. And I'm in constant touch and collaboration with actually my former director and supervisor, that is Wolfgang Modeka, back in Munich. And he helped me a lot to establish PropTech Uganda, because he guided me on what to do, what is needed, what are we looking at, what innovations to fill up this gap. And this growth trend for me is what decided my decision to come back home, because the growth curve is really, I see there's a growth curve as opposed to how I was in Germany. I'm not saying in Germany I was just there, but I was working, but I wanted a more challenging task for me where I'm actively involved. Thank you.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, that brings us to more ideas of sharing best practices. It's good when you see it practically, because I think for everyone, you'd like to have a practical example of from the theories. Yeah, who did it work for? Yeah, so thank you so much. Caroline Wangi, let's see how you're helping people that are trying to make such kind of decisions on both ends and say, I want to relocate to Germany or I want to relocate back home.
Thank you so much, Edith. Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful information session. I personally have not managed to relocate, but I am using technology to help people with information. I am originally from Kenya and been in Germany for close to 20 years. And I came here for my studies, and I realized there was a gap to inform and to mentor, let me say, people from our countries who used to come here. So we decided, why not team up? Where I come from, we like working together as a team to see how we can help each other. And I also believe that I cannot do this alone. So we decided to look for people who can form the network. And we are very happy to have the largest network of Kenyan students and professionals in Germany. And I'll share a brief presentation. I'm also babysitting, so if you hear a baby in the background, just know it is me. It's my small girl who is keeping herself busy as I multitask. So let me show you my short presentation. Yeah, so that is our profile. Yeah, very happy to see some of the people we have managed to establish the network with, Edith being one of them, Cynthia, and I've also seen Jethro Akala is also there. So this is a question we felt challenged with, like, which role can we African professionals play in the diaspora in building and establishing sustainable partnerships and collaborations in the academic and industry sectors between Germany, in this case, Africa, or from our countries of origin. So far we've been concentrating more on what can we do between Germany and back home. And we decided first is to focus on different sectors. So we have a website where we say we are an information hub. We inform professionals and young people who would like to come and study here. We have a section where they can find scholarships in Germany or even back in Africa. We have a section where you can find African companies, or let me say even German companies and organizations with a connection to Africa. And there's also an area where they can also find business grants. We do several career and business events. We've hosted several companies and universities to come and talk to people who are interested in the opportunities. And we also have a section for job opening. So we are supposing, we would like to support more of the brain gain and returnees who would like to go back and work with German companies or German organizations, or who would also like here to work with companies which has a connection to Africa. And of course, the last section is our services. And a few of our success stories, and these are some of the success stories we've managed to win or to build out of the platform. As I said initially, we have created the largest network for Kenyan students in Germany, and we call it the academic home in Germany. And out of this, we've managed to have different mentors who are ready to take care of the incoming and outgoing students. At least when you come to a foreign country, you don't feel so lost. You have someone to guide you, to work with you, and maybe to help you to make better decisions than we made. And out of the network, we've managed to facilitate a partnership between a German and a Kenyan university. And we've also won a partnership with the University of Luxembourg. And the other sector where we managed to create a collaboration is with We Do Africa. We Do is part of us, GIZ, giving business grants to Kenyans in Germany to do business back home. And the last part of one of our success stories is we managed to partner with an interesting company that is offering a technology where people can access content without internet. And you know, internet is a big problem back home. So we are here also to see which companies, which technologies can we take back home. And on the website, I'll show you a few profiles of the people who have made this academic home in Germany. And these are some of the profiles, but you can check later on the website. And you can see we have people with different backgrounds. Yeah, so business areas, engineering and IT. You can see we also have law and taxation, Edith being one of them. We have in the area of environment, Cindy being one of them. And you can check that later on and find out more details. Thank you so much.
It's sometimes funny multitasking. I understand that. I hope our guys, our men in the house also understand the same. sometimes combining work, the home office, it sounds a little bit lucrative, but sometimes it's not as relaxed as one might think. But then we quite understand it so well. Thank you so much for all the programs you've presented and the personal experiences. I would just be jumping from one speaker to the other, and therefore I would just request you all to now on your microphones. If you don't have a lot of disturbance in the background, just on your microphones, feel free to do so, and also on your videos, so that we can have a good session of interaction. I'll just be jumping from one profile to the next. Unless you feel uncomfortable with your background, that there's maybe some noise, then you can always simultaneously switch your microphone on and off. Yes, I'm not seeing Sarah. Sarah, your microphone is still off. Perfect, yeah. Good. So I think you introduced a very good program, Sarah, because so many of the asylum seekers would want to maybe wait till maybe they get ported or hoping for their disapproved applications maybe still being reapproved, or they're looking for other programs. But you have a program that enables them make a free will decision to relocate back home, whereby the free will isn't really a free will, because actually you're obliged to leave the country. But at what point exactly would you think it's important to make this decision? After my application has been disapproved, or maybe I'm even still within the application process, what is the right moment to come to you for your program?
So, I mean, of course, as an international organization, IOM is not involved in any jurisdictional area of Germany. So there's IOM does not have any influence. And also, as an international organization, it's neutral towards what the German government decides. However, the Avr program can be seen as a support mechanism for people who then can leave with some sort of support, and also not only cash support, but also a network to fall back onto when returning back home, contact details of the IOM missions in the country of destinations. And then, I mean, we also see, not all of them, but we do also have quite a few people who have been in Germany for a while and who just wish to return because maybe family members fell ill, or I mean, we have also a team for medical cases and very vulnerable cases who fell ill maybe here and know that they will die eventually and want to return back home. So it's not only the persons who are knowingly awaiting their negative asylum application, but also for other persons who really just want to return back home.
Sorry, no, it's okay.
Yeah, your other question was, at what point would it be good to go to a counseling center? I mean, approaching a return counseling center and collecting information can be done at any time. This is a free option, and I think it's very important if migrants have the chance to go to a counseling center with the welfare associations. They're mostly embedded in the Migrationsberatung. So there's more information not only on voluntary return, but also on all other aspects of migration for migrants in Germany. And I think the point in time when to approach a return counseling center should be independent from everything, because maybe this will, provide some information which can be helpful now or at a later point in time.
Great. Now you talked of the target group having a long-term residence in their countries of origin, or even rather permanent relocation. And we saw about the GZ program for the returning experts being engaged into exchange programs or short-term programs. Why is the target a permanent relocation or a long-term relocation to the home country, Sarah? And then we'll check on Cynthia's part, why the short-term programs, why would the short-term programs be attractive to the students and the professionals? Yeah. But Sarah, first of all, on your side, yeah, why would this be the goal of the program, to say we want to support or focus on those that have long-term goals in their own countries of origin?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Your program talks of the target group, the asylum seekers having a long-term goal in their countries of origin. That means when they relocate, they're like going to stay for a longer period of time in their home countries, or rather considering a permanent relocation, as far as I understood you correctly. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Why would that be their target? Do you also advise them on other possible options beside the asylum procedure of maybe coming back again to the country or joining any other exchange programs?
If they want to join, so we are linked to different reintegration, because here the focus is really on what you said, relocating permanently to the country of destination or country of origin in this case then. So if we would refer them to other programs, then we are linked to other reintegration programs, obviously, with which would sustain a long-term perspective in the country of origin. Of course, the Avr program is designed together with the Bundesamt für Migration und Flüchtlinge and the federal states to target groups which have a low perspective in obtaining any long-term residence permit in Germany. So this is the nature basically of this project. So this is why the target group is also, or the goal is to resettle or relocate in this case then on a long term, if this answers the question. But Max,
just to add maybe that this, one doesn't exclude, I hope you can hear me now better than last time. So one doesn't exclude the other. I mean, there's the target group, essentially people who have a limited perspective of, as Sarah already said, obtaining a long-term residence permit. So therefore, obviously, the goal of these programs is to facilitate a sustainable reintegration in the country of return. But that doesn't mean that there would also be programs that try to, for example, have like an exchange of migrants back and forth. So one doesn't really, it doesn't mean that both can work. It's just different target groups. Essentially, and we are trying to expand in these areas. To be fair, at the moment we are still very much leaning towards the assisted voluntary return programs, but yeah, we are trying and continuously expanding into other areas which would have such an exchange, capacity exchange, knowledge exchange, back and forth, more integration programs in Germany. So we are working on that to go more into that direction. But it's a process. It takes time. It's an international organization which at times is rather bureaucratic. So yeah, everything moves sometimes slower than one would perhaps want. And just on the last note, nobody is saying that people who have returned to their country of return with an assisted voluntary return program doesn't mean they cannot go back to Germany. Nobody is refusing them that. But the caveat is that they may have to basically pay back the support assistance financials that they have received as part of their assisted return. But nobody's saying you cannot come back to Germany. Obviously, everyone is free to go wherever they want and even, you know, apply for new asylum. And, you know, maybe the political situation has changed. And indeed, now this person who previously wasn't able to or didn't receive asylum is now more likely to receive asylum. So there is no barring, essentially, of people going wherever they want. And that includes, of course, Germany. Just add on
Great.
what's
Great, thank you so much. Now, Cynthia, we are checking on the permanent relocation, and your own part is like the direct opposite of that. That you know, you open opportunities for the know-how transfer of your expertise within short-term programs. Why do you think it's very important to have short-term programs for more so in this area of the academics?
Okay. Thank you. The short-term programs, as I said, it's three weeks to 6 months, and it's not geared towards academics only. Some people have come maybe from Australia and then they worked in Germany. So then they can come. And why we do this is that we assume they have acquired technical skills or even soft skills from Germany that would benefit Kenya. And most of these people, because they have a migration background, they were initially trained in Kenya. So we used our public funds in Kenya to train them, or even you up to the level you trained in Kenya, then you went to Germany. So it's a way of giving back to Kenya, promoting brain gain instead of brain drain. So this way we can still benefit Kenya. And we always have volunteers coming from other countries. Let's say Doctors Without Borders and all these foreigners who come. And it's good when we see Kenyan doctors who've studied abroad coming back, or even the researchers. We have a lot in many areas, and they are able to approach things in a different way, and the locals are able to accept this knowledge, and there's always a transfer back and forth. And the people who come maybe have also lost touch with Kenya. They're able to see the current situation, the workplace situation, and we've also had some come back permanently after that. So they touch base and sometimes they're encouraged to come back. Yes.
Thank you. Now we talked about countries that maybe are eligible to such kind of programs, both the IOM program and the GIZ program. We have India, we have Uganda, we have Kenya. At least Kenya we know is already represented. But then, Vivek, when you hear about the program, what do you think is lacking? Why you wouldn't know so much about the program? What is lacking within these programs? What information do you think needs to be relayed to the persons outside that maybe are affected or interested in the programs to make the programs more attractive? And what really did you miss when the programs were being introduced?
Okay, when I heard about this program from Cynthia, that if you are a resident of Germany and if you want to go for a short break and give it back to the partner countries, I was like, okay, maybe if I had known, I would have tried myself to try that. So why would I try? I mean, for two reasons: to maybe give back or also gain exposure to the country where I'm going, because it's an added. So I think I would do things in a way where I can give it back and also learn from there. So that's why I will try to give it back to a country where I will have the chance to also learn from them. So I would definitely do that. Why I didn't get to know about this program, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it's my ignorance, I don't know. Or maybe this can be more in terms of when I'm applying to this deregistration in KVR, they can send handouts saying that these are the things you can give it back to the community. So at such places, or I don't know, somewhere where I can find this information while I'm taking the journey back, right? I mean, you don't try to find this information when you are itself in, like if I'm in Germany itself, I will be too much involved with the current situation. Maybe if I had known about this short term, I would definitely have tried back then itself. Now I have moved back, so I am not eligible, right? Because it says permanent resident in Germany, right?
Okay, can I talk, Edith? So Vivek, you're still eligible for the returning experts program. If you have returned to India within the last 1 year, when did you return to India?
I just returned a couple of months back.
Yeah, so you can still, I'll contact you with the coordinator for India, and then you can get in touch with her.
Got it, got it. I will definitely have a look and see what can be done from there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And all of you talked about various links to your platforms that maybe are still having more information for us. Please, if you'd be just kind enough to write them in the chat so that even after this meeting or even your contacts, those who want to reach out to you or go to your home pages for more information, at least they would have the link with them. Yeah, now, Carol, you are one of the people that holds a very important platform that creates a link, a bridge between the two countries, both the countries of origin and also here in Germany. And I think it's a lot of challenge trying to find a kind of a middle point where the information can be relayed in a well understandable manner and also bringing the two expectations together. What is the challenge in trying to get this information across to the focused group?
Thank you for the question. I wouldn't say it's a challenge as such, because at least now people are very used to digital lifestyles. And I think what has helped, or one of the most important things that has helped us to grow the network, is we brought in people who shared their own stories, who built this platform, not just one person. So this has made it now become a bit easier for people to know, hey, okay, I saw Cynthia's profile on the AG Career Hub. I saw about the Diaspora Experts Program, which you can also find on the website. Through someone else, I saw Edith Otiende's profile there. And I think this is, I would rotate the question and say that we managed to cover the challenge because we decided to bring people from different networks to share the information out there.
Okay, so best practice is a very important factor in creating profiles that people can look into. Before I go to the next question, there's a question in the chat addressed to you, Cynthia. Could you please kindly respond or clarify to the following question: the salary top-up or other support for returnees? How does it work? Cynthia, did you switch off to the chat to read it? So, Vice-Chair, yeah?
Top for the
salary top up and why the program has been put on hold at the moment.
The returning expert bit has been put on hold for all the countries, though in Kenya we can still get a few more returnees. A few countries can still get. We can get in Kenya, but we're not sure how many we can still get because we have a lot of applicants in the pipeline. So for now, we are prioritizing females and new employers. So if you're going to work in an organization where we don't already have a returning expert, we take you. But this could change whereby, like before, we accept everybody who applies. This could change after August, and it has the funding has kind of stopped because of BMZ. BMZ has to reorganize itself and decide how do we proceed. As you know, it's a new government that was formed. So you just apply if you get a job and we see what to do. Okay, somebody asked, Ronald asked, how does Uganda join the list of countries? This is a hard question. BMZ decides. How do they decide? Who knows? It could be politics or whatever else. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, the question of countries eligible to various programs is always a challenge. Sometimes you get to hear about very interesting programs and then you check on the list of eligible countries and realize, oh, my own isn't among them. And it's kind of confusing. Yeah, one time we'll call the BMZ here on our table. We once had them on one of the rounds with the other program of shift of paradigm in the development cooperations, and the same question came up. The compact with Africa, compact migration program, which countries are eligible and how do they really decide on which countries to cooperate with the various programs they have. So keep watch on our various programs coming up. You might first one time land on the BMZ and then you pose the same question. Why exactly do you decide on particular countries attending? Now, Ronald, you talked about the benefit you gained from working for a company that is also connected to other countries, outside the German borders, and how you were mentored from the German side, and given the key factors, or rather the fundament that you needed to build up a startup in Uganda. What would be your shout out to maybe those who are now in their professionals here, practicing their careers in Germany, when they choose the companies to work for or to work with the organizations to partner with, what would be your shout out to them?
Okay, I think the first aspect for other potential candidates, if I'm to call them, is to for.
We are losing you. Sorry, we lost
if you
you a
have
little bit.
Sorry, you can hear me now, because
yeah,
I think I can see you and I can hear you.
That's great. Yeah. That's
okay.
Great.
Yes. What I would first pass out is what interests the candidate first. If you know what interests you, then you definitely know where you will get into, which company will you get into. For me, it was a question of Siemens does not automatically deal with, of course, with real estate. Allianz is an insurance company, doesn't do real estate. But I looked out for real estate aspects in all these companies, and I managed to get them. So if you know what interests you, you can know what company to get to, and when you know what company to get to, also you position yourself in a position that you create the connections and the collaborations for future development. This helps you very well in that in case of any transfers, or in case let's say Siemens wants to extend to Uganda, Siemens Real Estate, you are well positioned to take on any other role, to see that you can even continue working in that position back in your home country. If Allianz thinks of expanding to Uganda, I know the connections back in Allianz, seated on Schilderstrasse 14. If someone decides to come, I know the people who sit in is it called Nompala Sud? So you know the connections and you know who to talk to immediately. You hear such news coming up, and you position yourself in such a place. So the candidates should position themselves and also market themselves in these companies, because the opportunities and their trainings in these companies, but you need to position yourself and be ready for any development potential that comes out. Thank you.
Oh, great, positioning yourself. Now, with the program, you have IOM for the asylum seekers. How long does it take between the application time and the approval time? How much time should I calculate? And on the same note, can one apply even after being, either returning to the country or being deported to the country of origin? At what point can I apply, and what are the deadlines or the timelines that I have to observe? Sarah is on hold. Sarah, you there?
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So there are no deadlines, because in terms of when to apply, the program is running throughout one calendar year. And usually we see that the program ends, so we have the last departures of the year towards the end of one calendar year. Apart from that, an application can be submitted throughout to any point in time throughout the entire year.
So between the application period and the approval, how long does it take?
It really depends, but we see an average time of case processing, because we process all cases that are submitted throughout Germany in our Nuremberg office. We are a team of 20 to 30 colleagues, and we receive numerous applications. So from the time, what we always count is from the time and point when an application is complete, because there's a lot of bureaucratic paperwork also in the background which needs to be done and completed. From that point in time until departure, an average time of 2 weeks, most probably. Then always a bit depending on the country of destination. Obviously, due to the pandemic, we've seen that many flight schedules and flight routines have been affected. So this also, I mean, we see that this is relaxing a bit again, luckily, but generally roughly 2 weeks.
Okay, roughly. Okay, that's quite bearable. Cynthia, you talked about actually you don't really have to qualify extremely. I mean, when somebody hears the word expert, you think of people who have a couple of years of experience in their fields or in their careers. What is the connection or the relation between my field of study and the knowledge or the expertise that I want to transfer? Which skills do I have to transfer, or can I transfer? Must it be directly connected to my area of profession or study, or can I also be engaged in other fields?
What do you mean other fields? Like, just an example, we assume the job you're doing is what you studied. It's a professional job. You can't be working at McDonald's and then, because you have 2 years there, and come and work in Kenya. But the skills you must have gained in Germany. So minimum 2 years experience. And for those who are doing PhD studies, that is already experience. We consider PhD studies to be working experience. And like I've said, there are some people who come and study sociology, do social work, and come and volunteer in Kenya. They're doctors, they're nurses who come and study there. Even the people who work in old people's home.
Oh, okay. We lost
Okay,
Cynthia.
I'm back.
Oh, okay,
I'm back
great.
now.
Yeah, welcome.
So I'm saying you could have done the short training for working in an old people Altenpflege or something, and you could still come and do that in Kenya. That's experience gained in Germany if you went through the training there, and also even nurses. I don't know whether I've answered your question.
Okay, so in other words, a nurse can only work as a nurse within this exchange program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. I see Rashid having a question before we go to the next.
Yes, thank you, Edith. So for me, it is still not clear what does it take to, as you told at the beginning, to relocate. So I will ask you the question direct to you, Edith. What would it need for you to come back to Kenya so that I understand the prerequisites a little bit better? This is one question. And the second question to those, well, to all of you actually, according to what I've heard, circular migration is quite appealing. And I would you confirm this to live? Because I observe this also in our network, that many of our members spend like 4 or 5 months in their African country, in their country in Africa, and then spend the rest of the time in Germany. There are all kinds of free entrepreneurs, but there are also some employees who can do and afford this. So is circular migration a model which would be appealing to all of you? Thank you.
So with the second question, I'll open it to anyone that would feel addressed and want to answer the question or respond to it. To your first question that was directed to me. Now, when making a personal decision on a relocation or staying in Germany, what plays an important role for me is number one, what kind of opportunities do I have in my country? Do I expect to get the same opportunities as here? Because when you build up a foundation somewhere, you don't leave a better foundation to go to a lower foundation. If it's of a lower standard than where you were, of course, there are other added advantages that you'd attach to it, like being close to the bigger circle of the family. You're engaged maybe in other activities in your region. You feel maybe much safer in your home country and cause. Now, for me as an individual, what plays also an important role, not only the opportunities, is the application or applicability of the skills that I bring along with me. Now, as a lawyer, trained, qualified working lawyer in Germany, I would first of all ask myself the question, can I practice the same thing in Kenya? Then I would begin checking on the opportunities that we have in Kenya. Is my legal background directly applicable to the opportunities that are available in Kenya? The other thing that I would also consider is what are my roots at the moment? I wouldn't make the same decision as a mother with a family that is fully based in Germany. I wouldn't make up the same decision as then when I was still very single, you know. But then it only affected me alone, and I would be very flexible to say I can relocate at any time at my own pleasure or convenience. When you have a family beside you or within you, you have to first of all consider the interests of the family as well, to know the same opportunities must also apply to your partner, must also apply to your kids. Now, this is actually quite an individual question. I don't really say you must, but rather I must. Those are some of the things that I would consider before deciding on, if I want to relocate or not. And I have to still be quite certain about being productive in the same area of engagement that I'm productive in now, because I'm of resource to both ends. My experience, my platform, my engagement is shared and celebrated on both ends, both from my country and continent of origin, and also here in Germany. So this between the space is very important. Like Rashid, what you mentioned, some of them stay for maybe a longer period of time of not just 1 2 weeks, but rather 3-4 months and then come back again. Such kind of programs will be more attractive to me than a full relocation. Yes, I think I answered your question, Rashid. Thank you. The second part of your question, if anyone wants to respond to it, you are very free to do so. On the cycle of migration.
I think, Edith, you also answered the second part of it, right? It's regarding the circular. I think it depends on the individual and the point in life you are. So as you mentioned, if you have a family or you have to take many things in perspective, so circular migration can be a challenge at times or can be flexible. Like it depends on what point in time you are and what is your priority at that point in time. Like, because changing from my perspective, like 6 months here and there could be a challenging task at times. Because I mean, I think if you're in Europe itself, like from Spain to Germany, it's still okay. But if you are changing continents and foods, culture, and different things, I think it can be a very challenging task to go for circular migration. That is my personal opinion, I would say.
Sorry,
You
I'm
were
muted and talking. Sorry. Thank you so much. Do we still have more questions in the group? Anyone that has a question from the audience? Okay. If I overlook any question in the chat, please feel free to draw my attention to it. If that's not the case, I'll then proceed with the next question of now, Vivek, you talked of what prompted you to come to Germany. It also plays a big role in the return decision. And you mentioned about Germany opening you, or rather, you had the expectation of having better opportunities to also finance your studies. What does the economical background or the economical status of the countries of origin play in decision making, whether to migrate to Germany or decide to return back home? Because I think regardless of the GIZ, the IOM program, also what is the motivating factor for people to say, I would want to return, or I'm considering a long or short term residence in my country of destination of origin? Because the program only gives you a start. It only enables you have at least the first touch, the first foundation, the first base. But when you talk of, am I going to make a long-term decision for relocation or a short-term, there's so many factors that play a big role, of which the economical factor is also a very central point to consider. Vivek, how did this influence your decision, and what is your experience now? And I see Cynthia raising a hand. Cynthia, I'll take you up immediately after Vivek.
Got it. So just to summarize your question, is it moving to Germany or moving back from Germany to India, or both?
Both.
The question.
Both.
Okay, got your point. So I would say, I mean, for personally for me, I would say, I mean, anyone who is coming from, I would say, who has to invest a lot in terms of money itself in education. For example, if I will put it when I have to put it, I have to compare with US, because that is where many of us go. Like 60% or 70% of Indians go to US. That's the data we have. So, and the reason is that there is a craze that you go over there. It's a nice education also, but you also get a lot of high-paying salary job compared to a European country. When you compare that sense. But for me, the decision was like, I also have to have a different way of life, and not only just make more money or invest more money. So when I saw the different programs in Germany, one thing I understood, that if you apply for public universities, the tuition fee is minimal. The only thing I have to invest is accommodation, and that also you can claim if you start doing working student job. And as an IT student, I would say, and as a person in tech industry, I think it's quite easy also to get a working student job. So it's a win-win when you apply, I mean, as an individual to Germany, in terms of gaining education in a best university you can get. Also, the time investment, the investment is there in terms of time, but not in terms of a lot of money, because if you put a lot of money, then you have to stay forever, for example, or stay longer in the country you are. So that was my trigger, like how to go and where to go. And after studying and working for some time, I mean, my reason to move back was a lot of things together, not one thing. It was more like how I can also give back to the community over here, because I felt like from there was not an easy task. I'm still trying to understand how the system works over here. So being here helps me to know more about the system over here, and also be in touch with people. And the other thing was also, I mean, part of it was also to the culturally associated over here, like more closer, and also to the family. And with pandemic, there were a few instances where I felt like I couldn't even travel in very desperate times. So I felt if I'm closer to the country, I can easily travel without having so much of bureaucracy involved in travel itself. I mean, if there was an ideal country without bureaucracy, one can stay anywhere and be there to any place, but there's so many things involved that certain point in time you feel like, am I living for just what I'm living for. Like in certain situations, I felt like, yes, I can go back to Germany again in future, not a problem. But it's more like right now, I felt like I can go back and start my life here again, which I already started a long ago.
Thank you so much. Cynthia, you were raising a hand.
Okay, yes. My experience, and I guess for the other coordinators who we work with returnees, I have seen the differences between having returnees in Kenya, Ghana, and maybe India compared to other countries like Cameroon or such. And what I can conclude is, first, what takes somebody to Germany? If you go to study, especially coming from an English background, you are likely to return. Because if your basic and maybe first degree education was in English, you may study in German there or in English, but you can't really assimilate to the system. You may learn German, but just enough to go to the shops or just communicate. So you always feel out of place. Most people from the English-speaking countries will go for masters and PhD. So they have a more attachment to back home because they're even older. And a lot of them are also bonded. They leave, they get a scholarship, live and study, and then they have to come to that job for 2 to 3 years. But if somebody goes as an au pair or FSCOT, or I think it was called that, then they start from the bottom. They are younger, they work in German, and they become perfect. From there, they study, they do the entrance exams, and they do Ausbildung or bachelor's. So they know the system quite well. They have formed a network. And this process is not short. I think it takes quite a number of years. So you also lose touch with Kenya because those who you graduated with, let's say from high school, they've gone on a different path. They may graduate before you ever get to university. So there's that disconnect. You then tend to be attracted to stay in Germany. And then there's the difference between females and males. We have that problem with the project. How come more males return? Even though more males go to study, there's a discrepancy between the number of males who go to study and come back, the number of females who go to study and come back. There is, this is anecdotal evidence that women or the females easily maybe get married or get partners and remain. And that could explain why less females come back in ratio to the ones who go. And then there's also the fear. If you don't have a job to come back to, then there's that fear of coming back. Can I just park without a job and come back and look for a job? I know a lot of people who contact me will say, I'm coming, and it even lasts 5 years. I know my case, I was not coming back to a job, I had left a permanent job. And with a child, I think it took thinking for more than 2 years to finally pack and come. And I looked for a job maybe 8 months. It's not for the lighthearted. But I think what we have now creates a kind of network whereby you don't come and you're in a vacuum. And like when I came back, there was nobody I could talk to who had been to Germany. But now with such networks, we can create a network locally, even for IOM, when there are people in Kenya who have gone through that experience. They are able to encourage those who want to come back because there is hope. Yes, that's it.
Thank you so much. The question of best practice and networking and finding at least examples to rely on is very important and becoming much, much louder. While we are rolling it to the very last final remarks that, if possible, should take at least an hour, not an hour, a minute per person, would be very appreciated. At least 1 minute per person maximum. I think we have answered so many of the questions. If you want to reach out to anyone, I think the chats have the contacts of the speakers of today. And there's a question I would have wished to pose. Maybe you can pick it up on your final remarks, Sarah. the question of the duration of residence here. If you have any experience, just what Cynthia mentioned, that it also depends on how long you've lived in the country. I mean, the will or the desire to go back home also is determined by the duration of your residence in Germany before you decide on going back. The longer you are rooted, I mean, the more you are rooted to the country where you landed, maybe Germany now, the lesser readiness in going back to your country. And I think that explains why some of the people would then risk within this asylum process being deported instead of free will traveling back or exiting the country. Does that play a role? Have you had experience on that? And then just your final remarks added to that one, then we'll go to the next speaker.
We see from all the applications we receive, of course, very different time frames of the applicants staying in Germany. And you just mentioned a very important point. Obviously, for some people who applied for asylum and then all the bureaucratic process and the decision making behind and these institutions that make the decisions take a very long time. So the duration in Germany really varies, to be honest. We also have, because the people who are eligible for the program can also have a Langzeitduldung, and Langzeitduldung means that the long-term toleration permit for Germany can also mean that persons have been in Germany for some years before they then are informed about the possibility of relocate, if that answers your question. And if that answers the question, I will come to the closing comments. So first of all, thanks for giving us the platform here, me and my colleagues, and thanks for being flexible in swapping presenters for this presentation here. If you have any questions regarding Avr program, because I've seen now, it was really interesting for me to see also all the different programs and projects that are for migrants to migrate, and I think it's very interesting and just a very interesting topic, because migration is one of the prevailing topics of the 21st century. Yeah, it was really interesting for me to see all the differences in the programs. Avr has been existing for more than 40 years, so it's a huge program. It has a lot of different program components, and it's really difficult to bring all the important information, pack 40 years into 10 minutes. So if you have any other questions, also regarding, the question from before, for example, about the average age, we're really happy to research a bit more also into the statistics, which we have not at hand now. If we have the data, I really must say that, because we do not collect all the data, then also please feel free to reach out to my colleagues. Maximilian also posted our email addresses here, so thank you for this.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, let's have your final remarks, Vivek. You're still muted.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here. I mean, all the discussion led to a lot of interesting points. I would say learning about the programs, getting in contact with people over here. And as Cynthia mentioned, and others also, networking is the key, which I also believe. I can understand going back to the country of origin and feeling a bit lost if you are not having a good network in terms of looking for a job or looking for a house itself. It can be a task. So having a network does help, and yeah, I would say it helped me also in that sense, moving back. So thanks. I would say this discussion is also enabling in that direction. So this group can help others in the later stages. So thanks, Edith, for bringing all of us. Just one request from my side, Edith. A lot of context or email ID was shared here in the chat. I think it's difficult for getting it. Maybe when you record, I think you will get a text pad of all the chat. If you can take some time, sorry for that, if you can extract these contacts and send us across so that we can take it from there. I took some, but I think there were a lot of chats, so I'm not sure how.
Don't worry, you'll get the speakers and anyone that would send us their email addresses. You'll get all the contacts and the presentation if there's no objection to that from our speakers.
Got it. So that's it from my side. Thanks.
Okay, I hear somebody asking about the widow. The Caroline that presented the widow program has sent me a message. She's having network issues and had to exit early. She's not so sure if she's managing to log again. But then widow is a program from GIZ that helps diasporas support their family members with the startups or coming up with business ideas. So it's kind of like what we know with the remittances that we make from personal initiative. The widow program enables you to make such kind of remittance, yes, but then with the target of helping somebody to have a startup or come up with a business module within your family cycle or friend cycle. And widow tops up your own contribution. So for example, if a family back home, a member of your family back home wants to engage in any business and contribute maybe like 500 euros into the business that they are running, you as the diaspora that is supporting, you would also bring up your own part, which is 500 of the same amount, making up 1,000 euros for the program. And then the widow now comes up and tops up what you have done, both of you, with the same amount of now the added 500, widow brings 1,000 to the same program or to the same business. You can apply for this, I think up to twice, get approved, and it goes up to an amount of 2,000. But then Caroline Mwangi would be also there. There are very many widow sessions that are being conducted, at least to give more information on this as well. Very interesting program for those at home and also for the diaspora here to at least channel your own remittances also in this line to get the support needed. Yeah, Cynthia, what are your final remarks?
I would just say thank you for organizing this round table. And I've also learned a lot from IOM and the other people. Even Vivek gives a current opinion about what it means to go back at this time, especially with the crisis we currently have. And I guess I've learned from everybody else. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. That was less than 30 seconds actually, which is very good. Okay, Ronald, let's have your final remarks, please. A shout out.
Yes, thank you, Edith, for organizing this. And it was really great. I've learned a lot. The programs, though I've still failed to get the answer why Uganda is not on the program for the last 5 years. I've never got an answer. Probably I'll get it in the future. Thank you.
Okay. So that question would be interesting to both the IOM program and also the GIZ program. Why do you decide on a few countries and then exempt the others? On behalf of Carol, yeah, I think I'll post the website of Carol here, the AG Career Hub. Feel free, the contacts are there, the mail, the phone number is there. And if you send me your mail, I'll definitely give you all the emails of the persons that participated today. A warm appreciation to all of you. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, Max, for the backup with Sarah. Thank you, Vivek, all the way from India. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Ronald, and Carol that is already out of the meeting. And all our lovely participants that had a lot of patience listening in the background. 2 hours program isn't so easy on a Friday after a long week. So we appreciate you for participating today and hope you got good insights from the program. keep watch for our other upcoming roundtables. GANF holds at regular intervals various roundtables with various topics that keep on building on each other. Some of them are German-based with the German language and context, and some of them are open like this with English, where even the non-German speakers can as well participate. Yeah, thank you so much. A warm appreciation. Have a lovely afternoon, enjoy your weekend, and hope to still catch up with you again in our other upcoming programs.
Bye. Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Edith.
Bye.
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 Bye all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Great.